Hi, good afternoon, and welcome to Boca's Briefcase here on our October 7th, 2020. Can't believe we're in October. I just want to start with some condolences to the music industry today, where we've lost two greats recently, Johnny Nash and Van Halen, singer from Van Halen, and my condolences to the music world. I want to also briefly announce the next 2 weeks, we have really exciting guests. We're finally going to be talking about what's going on. We've been teasing about it for a few weeks, but with evictions and foreclosures, there's so much confusion in Florida and actually throughout the country. So we're bringing on attorneys and we're going to talk about this. This is obviously my area of practice as well. And then the following week, for any avid readers or wannabe writers, we have New York Times bestsellers list and author Ellen Hildebrand, who writes about tropical locations such as ours. She's really one of the most popular authors out there right now in fiction. So definitely join in a couple weeks. If you don't already follow us, just follow at Boca Raton Tribune on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, any social media. And you can watch her if you are interested in being a future writer. I have my ballot here, and this I wanted to share. My mom actually taught me that there's a code. This is in Palm Beach County. There's a little code on the back with numbers, and you can track and follow your ballot. So you can actually see, I think, when it arrives, when it gets counted. So that's really neat. If you're interested in following, just go to the Supervisor of Elections website, and you can get more information about how to follow your vote, which is really, really neat. So today I'm going to put on my hat because this is as close as I've gotten to Miami Beach in a while. And we're going to talk all about Miami Beach with Mr. Miami Beach himself, Shawn Vardi. I'm so excited to have him here. He's probably just completely laughing at my hat. You look very Miami, first of all, in your white setting. So clearly you're in Miami Beach right now. Yes. So
everything's dark.
It's dark. Shawn, he works with Think Hospitalities. If you're outside of Miami Beach and you're not aware of him, he helps run and own restaurants, hotels, condominiums, retail, brokerage divisions. He really has his hand in everything in Miami. That's good. And he's the person we need to talk to today. He holds a BS in finance, entrepreneurship, and small business from Northeastern. Very, very smart guy. I work with him all the time, Mr. Magna Cum Laude. Welcome, Mr. Vardi, to the Tribune.
Thank you for having me.
So I want to know, as many people want to know, what the heck is going on in Miami Beach? And I'd like to start first. Let's start first with hotels. And, you know, if I want to go and stay in Miami right now, can I? Can I stay there?
Yeah, you know, what you're seeing is you have the majority of the hotels have opened up. It's limited service, so you know, some of the, you know, the stays you won't necessarily have a housekeeping every single day, but for the most part, all the restaurants are open, beaches are open. We're currently operating under a curfew, which has been extended to 11 o'clock. We have been allowed to now have inside dining, you know, with respect to the restaurants. But as you kind of were explaining with the confusion, some of these things change at any given point because of our, I guess, mayors. And I think a lot of people don't understand how Miami Beach is kind of constructed. So
great. Can you go into that? Because, you know, just before I spoke with you today, I was looking up the mayor, and I know Carlos Jimenez, for example, he has a hold on Ritz, but he's the mayor, I think, of Miami, but he's not the mayor of Miami Beach. And whose rule do you follow? And can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah.
As a business owner, how do you know what rules are regulating your business?
It's definitely a challenge and it's definitely confusing, but essentially there's a hierarchy. County is Jimenez, and he kind of has the overarching rule. So whatever he says kind of goes. Underneath that, Miami Beach actually answers to Miami, which is Mayor Suarez. And then finally there's Mayor Dan Gelber, who is kind of beholden to Suarez and Jimenez. And unfortunately, as you can imagine, three individuals, they kind of have different beliefs and agendas, and they never get along. And as a result, you have this constant confusion. So you might have, you know, DeSantis saying, hey, the state's open, everything, you know, you can sit inside and do what you want. Jimenez says, okay, please make sure you're wearing a mask. And then Dan Gelber would say, well, I still want to make sure that it's an 8 o'clock curfew, at 25% inside. I'm just giving you an example.
Right.
And you have this constant tug of war that we get updates, and it's confusing. I mean, I think overall, I think everyone's trying to do what they feel is best. So I don't think it's, negative in that respect, but you definitely have some people that are a little bit more pro-business versus others. And as a business owner, specifically for the restaurants, it's an extreme challenge.
And there's been a constant change. I remember a couple of weeks ago, so we went into phase 3, the state, but then there was a lot of news that Miami then took a different turn. They immediately opened, I believe, and places got so packed. And so then they went back to, I think, a partial closing. So how did you react to that? Did you even attempt to open your restaurants, hotels, or did you not?
So we have multiple restaurants. We have multiple hotels. We have four hotels, 4 restaurants. 2 of them, or 3 of them, excuse me, I've just kept shut this entire time because it's just either A, there's just a lack of business, or B, it's way too confusing. And the other one, we opened for dinner only, and we're fortunate enough to have a lot of outdoor space, and that seems to be the kind of trigger point. So we've been fortunate enough to kind of stay open and really abide by what we believe the rules are. But there's another whole component to this where the city of Miami Beach now has code enforcement out, and they are trying to do whatever they can to, I guess, penalize bad operators. And sometimes you're going to get put in that bucket without knowing, what is right. So just to give you an example, there's a very well-known pizzeria that got, I like to say they got ambushed, but they had someone there was a 10 o'clock curfew at some point.
Mm-hmm.
And they had people that were, physically getting up at 10:01. I think they paid the check. We know that because they printed the receipt, and they got fined. It was like a $5,000 fine because they were staying 1 minute after. So I mean, it's just this extreme challenge. I think that people are trying to do their best, but I think common sense has kind of been thrown out of the window here, and the ability to have a nice communicative argument and just say, hey, listen, we're trying to do our best. But you remember, if you're a guest or you're a consumer, you're having a dinner, and your curfew comes in. Let's say it's 11 o'clock. You eat at 10 o'clock, and it's 11 o'clock, and you're almost done. And someone says, hey, you have to leave. Not many people are saying, okay, it's 11 o'clock, and they're getting up and leaving. They're saying, okay, as soon as I'm done, I'm going to leave.
So let me ask you a question on that, because we had some business owners here a couple of weeks ago, and there's been different arguments over the last couple of months. Do you feel, you're trying to make your customers feel happy? Do you feel like you're able to enforce it and say, hey, you have to go, and if you don't, you get fined as a business? Or we had one question, it was a couple of weeks ago, now that there's not an individual mask requirement, it falls on you because you can get fined as a business. So how do you enforce it without?
It's impossible.
It's impossible.
It's impossible. The consumer is not forgiving. Let's just, they are used to a way of acting and behaving for years. And now all of a sudden they're given these rules and restrictions, which they definitely don't understand. If we don't understand it, we can't expect them to understand it. And then you have this kind of, I guess call it code enforcement that's trying, and code enforcement, sometimes they don't even understand it because remember, you have 3 different conversations with the mayors going on. So, I think really what the curfew, which is really meant to do, is to tone down congregation. Mm-hmm. And I think you got to kind of really take a step back and maybe say, hey, what are these rules? Why are they enforced? Why were they put in place? And I think congregation was probably the reason. We didn't want people to go to bars, and if there's a disease, and forget about how you feel about the disease. Bars and nightclubs were obviously an area they were trying to clamp down because they didn't want people to congregate, in clusters of people. Whether or not an individual is sitting down at 10:55 or 11:15 at the same table, I don't necessarily know that creates a problem. I mean, if you're trying to operate as a venue that would, cater to the catering or drinking or whatever, I could understand that. But I think that there needs to be a little bit of common sense. We're kind of all in this together. And, the other part of this is that the city now is in a tremendous amount of financial trouble. I mean, you've had all of their hotels and restaurants have been closed for a good part of 5 to 6 months. Where do you think they get their tax revenue from? Miami Beach is funded by real estate tax and hotel revenue tax. So, the city, while they're trying to, clamp out of a hole, kind of like everyone else, every other operator, they're also now finding the establishments that are going to be the ones that get them out of there. So
right, which doesn't encourage them to open.
That's not a pro-business solution.
Can you give people a visual? People from all around watch this. If you went outside now, we're on Miami Beach. What would you see? Do you just see people walking up and down the sidewalks? Does it look like Miami Beach? Are people covered in masks? Is it empty? Are things open?
I think if you kind of blinked your eyes and walked on the beach, you wouldn't even know anything. You would think that this is any other day. I think that you're in the hotels, with the exception of maybe the spa being closed because there are some rules and restrictions on that. And, maybe a shop being closed. And if they had 3 restaurants in the hotel, maybe now they have 1 that's operating. Other than that, it's kind of pretty much the same as you would normally see it. We are seeing Miami Beach kind of bounce back a little bit. We own some assets, not only in New York, but also Miami as well. And basically, we're in that 35 to 40% range with respect to occupancy as a market. A month ago, that was probably 5 to 10 points lower. And we're hopeful that we're going to see a little bit more, ticking upward as it goes. We're kind of beholden to the cruise ship industry. A lot of people don't realize that, but if you were to just if you take the amount of, rooms on a ship, let's say an average ship has 1,500 rooms, no one really goes on a cruise alone. So you figure you got, 3,000 bodies in there, assuming it's completely packed, but you have 3 cruise ships. So call it 9,000 bodies, and you have 3 cruise ships every 2 to 3 days in a port. Think about, there's only 200 seats on an airplane. You're talking about,
they used to make the Miami Beach stop. That was like the first destination, right?
Miami Beach is the destination for cruising. Right. So if you consider what the cruise ships do, the cruise ships, when they're full, they pre-book these airlines. They pre-book their assets, their airplanes. Then that opens up routes to Salt Lake City and Nashville and all these different places around the world. And now you have a 50% booked airplane based on a cruise ship, and the rest is either business or transient. And that's how you build a touristic market. When the cruise ships are down, less airplanes, difficult to get. Now you actually have prices that, depending where you're coming from, are really high or super low. But you probably need, in some cases where it would be on any given day, 1 3-hour flight, it's now connected.
Right. No, it's really good that you're bringing a finance perspective to today's conversation, because we've had conversations, everything from surgeons, doctors, across the gamut. So this is very interesting in terms of the financials and the economy. Why don't you mention, do you want to promote, you're here and we thank you for sharing information. Why don't you mention some of the establishments you own, or, to promote them if you're reopening? I would love for you to do that.
Yeah. So we have 4 different types of hotels. The Boulogne South Beach is a condominium hotel. So it's, typical 1,000+ square foot per room, full kitchen. We actually didn't shut that down at all during the pandemic because of the fact that we were a condo. And that has done amazingly well, just because there was a time where people were afraid that they couldn't go get something to eat. So having a kitchen really afforded that ability to, I guess, leave wherever they were, work remotely or what have you.
And hold on just a second. If anyone has a question, you can type it in and Shawn will answer you. That's why he's here for you. So if anyone has a specific Miami Beach question, I forgot to throw that out there. And I'll let you know, Shawn, if they do. Keep going.
Yeah. Then we have the South Beach Hotel, which is kind of like your demographic of 18 to 25-year-old who kind of wants to come down to Miami and have a, nice location, not necessarily in the middle of like the scene, which is kind of like an Ocean Drive area. But, clean rooms, affordable. And that's been open, I think, for about 3-4 months. And, we've been doing quite well. We actually hit our 50% threshold on the occupancy, which is kind of our break even, which is pretty exciting. We just opened up.
Are you booking solid for December? Like, are you seeing the pre-bookings come in or not?
So what's happened in this environment, because there's so much uncertainty with people and whether or not there's going to be a shutdown or what's going to happen with their job, or just uncertainty in general because of, our government, whatever you want to call it. The booking window of people that are really thinking 60, 90 days in advance has really shrank. It's probably now 7 to 21 days. So you're seeing less and less forward advanced bookings. Again, that being said, we're historically August, September are our worst months here in Miami Beach. So, we are just rounding into October, and typically the real pickup is October 15th. We are seeing some pickup for Q1. We're pretty excited, a little bit better than our expectation, but we definitely noticed that the booking window has shrank. And I think, until this election is over, that's not going to change. I don't think.
One question too, not to interrupt you, from Bruce. Are you seeing Halloween plans or celebrations coming up?
Yeah, so one of our restaurants, we just got we have one of these outside fun restaurants called the Garden, which is pretty typical of that Miami flair. Very very fun, a lot of drinking and so on and so forth. And we got hey, are you guys open? That actually just right before this call, we got a party of 20 that wanted to come, and I don't know how to answer. Because A, I don't know if you're allowed to have parties of 20, so it's just there. And then B, I don't necessarily know if I want to be the first individual that's going to open my establishment, because of the code conversation. However, that said, will there be things for Halloween in Miami? Absolutely. I mean, I might not be doing it, but I will guarantee you that Ocean Drive, which is kind of where everything is happening, touristically, even from July 4th onward, has still been going every day. So, and again, we just opened up our other hotel, just getting back to that, at the Clinton, and the Clinton is kind of in the Clinton South Beach. It's kind of in the heart of that, environment where there's just a tremendous amount of activity. And, your question earlier today was, what would you feel if you were to walk outside and walk to Ocean Drive? You wouldn't know anything.
That's amazing.
They took, the city's, done what they can in order to kind of be a little bit pro-business in this respect. They've taken a lot of the streets, with the traffic patterns, and they put, sidewalk cafes. They've extended the sidewalks into the actual streets themselves. You can't even drive on Ocean Drive anymore.
You can't. You can't drive.
You can't drive on it. Makes a ton of sense. You know what I mean? And what that's allowed is that, the indoor facilities are now more outdoor, but also you have a different camaraderie because, if you're walking by, you're kind of part of the action. So for sure, there's going to be stuff happening in Miami Beach Halloween. Don't necessarily know if I'm going to be part of it, but, my restaurants are not in that world anyway. So.
Right. Are you having to follow, because you said for the most part, the hotels have been closed, but you're starting to reopen or consider reopening. So now you have to follow these hotel guidelines, right? Is that recommended by the CDC? And I think there's also Florida-based companies that you have additional guidelines. How, did you have to hire a special advisor, or do you guys just go through this yourself to just do this reopening?
Everyone's kind of creating their own points of differentiation. There's a 185-page document that, I don't know if it was the county, the city, or the state that sent it out, which kind of governs phase 1 through 3 and what you're allowed to do. We've been abiding by that. We actually contracted through a company called Viking Pure Solutions, and we have these machines now that essentially you see them on an airplane. They look almost like a leaf blower. We kind of blow all of the nano tights or whatever these things are, and they essentially clean all the surfaces. So
you
it's
have
definitely
those? You got
per hotel. We have a machine that generates the liquid. We then have the machine that transfers the liquid into the other machine that allows you to be a little bit more mobile. And then that's how we clean our rooms, and that's how we clean our common spaces. So it definitely added an element of cost as a result of that, because these are large machines. They might be 6 feet high and 5 feet wide. So that's stuff that we had to be kind of a little bit inventive, and is there a cost to it? Yeah, but if you go online into any one of our websites and any of our assets, you'll see the first thing. This is how we clean. This is what it does. There's the scientific component of it, which has been proven. And the reality is that people want to make sure that wherever they're going, it's safe. And that's, if you're not a safe choice, you're probably not in the right industry right now. The hospitality has been kind of shifted because there's a lot of things we can't do. The whole idea of kicking people out at a curfew and not being able to clean their rooms for daily housekeeping. These are things that, one would scratch their head a year ago and be like, it doesn't make any sense, but that's our reality right now. So we have to kind of shift gears and, whatever we're not doing there, we got to do in order to make people feel safe. So
right. What about what restaurants do you have that are opening or that are open right now?
yeah, so Blue Ribbon Sushi is open at the moment. Miami Beach is number one sushi for sure. We're open for dinner Wednesday through Sunday, and we're hoping by November we're going to go 7 days a week.
Mm-hmm.
We have another restaurant called
carry out and all that, like a lot of carry out too, or no?
Yeah, a lot of takeout. We're probably doing like 60-65% of what we would normally do on a dinner if you compare this last September to the year before. We have a restaurant called Falsa Limonata, which is kind of your amazing brunch, very, very fun, called like the Bachelorette magnet. Every time there's one of those, we seem to get that crowd. Bottomless cocktail, stuff like that. That's opening up probably, November, December. We're not sure yet. And then we have Orange Blossom, which is probably the best breakfast brunch spot in Miami Beach. And we're opening that November 1st.
So, okay. So you're going to hit season pretty good, or like you're going to come into the mid-season.
Yeah. Again, I think, the reason why we've been holding back, thankfully we have very, very little debt. We own the company. I'm the CEO. I started it, we basically have no debt in any of the restaurants, or we don't have any debt in the restaurants. And the hotels, we have very little debt. So we have been afforded the luxury of kind of taking our time.
Right.
That is not necessarily the norm for a lot of other individuals, just because for whatever reason, they maybe have too much debt that they having a tough time work out. So, we've been really concentrating on safety and making sure things were kind of set up the right way. And
are they pushing temperature checks, and do you have to do extra things for employees now, or is there requirements for that? Yes.
Yeah, we send our people to get tested once a week. We have temperature checks, daily logs that we have to keep both before they leave, before they enter, and once they leave. There's a few other things that, to be honest with you, I kind of not up to speed, but like we keep adding different rules. Everything from arrows on the floor to hand sanitizers every 10 to 15 feet. I mean,
right.
There's a constant, that whole, you almost have a new department that was created in sanitation and health within these companies. So it's been a challenge. And again, there's no right answer. I mean, that's what a lot of the homework that we do is we go to other places to see what they're doing. And the reality is that everyone is doing something a little bit differently. And the people that aren't doing anything at all, they're not going to survive this. That's just the reality.
Well, I have a question. This comes from me and not anyone else. But does it make you upset because Miami is known also for like you said, these huge gatherings or a rave or whatever, like a huge festival. Does it make you mad if that's happening like down the street? Because does that affect then your business or your ability, or you don't care? Each to their own.
I think that's a personal question on how you feel about this health crisis. I'm a very pro-business individual, and I want everyone to do whatever it is that they were doing with respect to their business model.
Right.
I don't want to shut anyone down. I don't, I have no problem with rules and regulations. Don't get me wrong. I think that's totally fair. And I think that's optimal. And if things get out of hand, you should be penalized. No doubt. Miami Beach does have those like raves and things, but like, that's kind of like Miami Beach from 15 years ago. Miami Beach today is really more of a cultural city. We have a ton of different restaurant opportunities. Our beaches are probably the best in this country. We're the only tropical weather that you're going to find connected to mainland. We have the Miami Heat. We're in the finals. We have the Adrian R Center. We have so many things that didn't exist from people that are not familiar with Miami Beach. You would probably come here and not even recognize it if you're here.
So let me ask you this. So we know people are there. You said you could walk out right now. It could look like any other day. Some things are open, some things are closed. If you're a person that's like a little nervous, but you want to go there, do you think it's okay? Like, not for the person that's not nervous, but if you're a little nervous, is there precautions being met there, standards being upheld?
The same precautions that you have in your local Starbucks exist here.
Okay.
Right? The same precautions that you have wherever you live. If you're willing to get on a plane and travel anywhere, then Miami Beach is an option.
That's
There's
what
nothing nothing that's happening here that's like out of the norm. Like, oh my God, they have these pool. That doesn't exist.
Because the news loves to like make it seem like Miami's this like unending party with like a massive bodies. Like,
Yeah, right. Of course, there's 3 million people on a lifeguard stand. We've all seen the pictures.
right.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think. Listen, the news is the news, and they tend to do whatever is going to sell a tabloid. So, I think Miami Beach has done an unbelievable job. To be honest with you, we haven't even made the news. We shut down Memorial Day weekend, we shut down July 4th, and whether you like it or not, the outcome of that is that we didn't make any headlines. I believe in the north, what was it? Daytona Beach was the one that got all the negative publicity. Where that typically was Miami Beach.
No, it does seem that the government has really tried to help maintain safety standards there, so that businesses can open. It seems like that's the message I've been getting.
Miami Beach has probably the most sophisticated owners in the country of real estate. Let's just start there. I mean, they're high. 20 years ago they were wherever they were coming from, right? But Miami Beach, everyone has this like thought that every 5 years it's a cyclical market. On the real estate and finance side, and there's either peak or trough. Depending when you get in, you'll be good. But that's not the case, right? We've been here since 2012, 13. Everything's been bought. Nothing has really gone 30, 40, 20 cents on the dollar at all during this pandemic. It won't happen. You're seeing people trade, the paper, but the assets themselves aren't trading. We are going to stabilize. And because these things are owned with real money, I mean, think about who's here. It's a who's who of every single major company. They're operating with the most efficacy that you could ever want. Like, they're not going to jeopardize a pool party for their $300 million hotel. It's not going to happen. If anything, there's probably more rules and regulations here than you would have anywhere else because of who's behind these assets.
Right. That's really interesting, actually.
Yeah. I mean, they're not going to ruin. I got an email the other day. Would you do a pool party? And I laughed at the guy. I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, am I going to ruin my entire company so I can make $10? It's never going to happen.
Right.
And all the guys are doing the same thing. And if they are going to allow people in their pool, they're going to have 15 other people to make sure that they're socially distanced.
That's a very interesting perspective that I don't think's been heard. And so, yeah, it sounds like Miami Beach is a place to go. I also got a personal message. They said they really want a list of everything that you just named. Maybe you can email it to me after and I'll post it under. All the restaurants and the hotels. They said it sounds really good.
Yeah. Well, we got, go to Yelp and just type in breakfast Miami Beach. You'll see Orange Blossom. It's the first one. We're always on top. Yeah, we're the best. Blue Ribbon Sushi, type in sushi. We're number one, if not number two right now. And Limonada, you just type in bachelor party or bachelorette party.
Right. And did you mention the Plymouth too? Is the Plymouth open? I know that's one of yours.
Yeah, the Plymouth Hotel. So Blue Ribbon Sushi is in the Plymouth Hotel. We're opening that October 15th.
Thanks, Gary. Keep going. Sorry.
Yeah, no, we're doing a slow opening with really we're really going to open like maybe 20, 25 rooms just for the first 15 days. To be honest with you, that's kind of like
same. Are you lowering prices? Same prices?
The prices are lower across the board. You're probably looking at a 20 to 30% discount from pricing, for every hotel. Not specific to mine. For the Plymouth, because it's kind of like I guess I want to call it our gem. We spend a lot more time building it, and to be honest with you, it was like kind of like my favorite project I've ever done. So, and as a result, we've done phenomenally well, which is also another reason why I love it. But we're kind of opening it. We have an unbelievable clientele, and we don't want to deteriorate that clientele. We want to build it back just to give you an idea, we're a 110 key hotel. And, last year we probably had 23 people over the course of the year that stayed over 4 months. And these are 400 square foot rooms, at a time. They love the vibe. They love the staff. They love kind of what it is that we provide as a hospitality company. And, we kind of created like a mini family. So, again, every single asset's a little bit different.
Right.
And we got to understand that. And you as an owner, you have to know, what it is who your customer is and what they want. And as a result of that, we chose to open this hotel the last and the slowest just because of that.
Right.
Again, the restaurant is open right now for dinner. So we've been kind of still operating and in there. I moved my office in there now, so that's exciting.
As your legal counsel, I'm really proud of you.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm not biased at all. I mean, I've been counsel for a lot of these venues, and they are the best in the world. So
yeah,
I highly recommend going.
Believe it or not, the Plymouth Hotel 2 nights ago, we just won the AIA award, the design award for 2020, which I wasn't available to be on the Zoom call for. But
well, you know what? I'm going to compile a list. I'm going to put it up under the site. You know, this specific show is called Boca's Briefcase, and they want at the end of each show, you know, what's the final thing you want to, I can't believe it's already been half an hour, something you want to pull out of your own briefcase, something of value. If you could say one thing to the people that are watching you, either about Miami Beach, hotels, restaurants, what do you want to share for people to leave with?
Yeah, well, I would tell you this, especially because we're in Boca, you know, based on the show. If you guys haven't been to Miami Beach, you know, in the last 3 to 4 years, I think you need to come and take a look, because we're not the same city that you may remember. I mean, that's the first thing I would tell you. And 100%, we have the best restaurants outside of Vegas and New York in the entire country. Not even a question.
I love it. You're not biased at all. Not biased at all.
Just a fact.
No, I mean, it's true. I need to try everything. But so please, if you're watching, send Shawn some love. He's extremely busy trying to run this, and send him a like or some love for taking the time out today and appearing. He also has a brand new baby, so he's also very tired. So,
I haven't slept in a month and a half. That's
yeah, mazel tov. Yeah, thank you so much for being here, and to continue on the conversation. We didn't touch upon it today. I kept it out, but Jimenez has a hold on all residential and all commercial writs for evictions. So no matter, it's unusual. And we're going to talk about that next Wednesday. So again, follow us, subscribe. And if you want to reach out to Shawn, he is pretty busy, but there's his email that goes to Think Hospitality, actually. And if you have questions about any of the amazing restaurants, the hotels that are opening or about to open, or if you want to make reservations, reach out to Think Hospitality. They will help you and book you a room right away. Remember, take advantage of the reduced rates right now. And it sounds like they have a lot of safety precautions going on. So, and you can, of course, ask about those as well. So thanks, Shawn. Thanks so much for being here.
Have a nice one. Thanks, guys. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, everybody. I'll see you next Wednesday.